The moment Freen let her guard down. Only for Becky. The woman who never breaks. In the spotlight, Freen Sorocha has always stood like marble. Poised, calm, untouchable. The kind of woman whose smile never falters. Whose energy never cracks. Even when the cameras stop rolling and the room goes quiet. She's the protector. The strong one. The person people lean on. From her earliest interviews to the whirlwind fame of Gap, the series, Freen became a symbol of grace. Composed, confident, careful with her words. You'd look at her and think, she's got it all under control. But what the world didn't see, what only a few ever did, was the quiet exhaustion that comes from always being the strong one. Behind every practiced smile was a heartbeat that longed for softness. A heart that wished, even just for a moment, that someone else would look at her and say, "You don't have to be strong today. I've got you." And then came Becky. When light met steadiness, Becky Armstrong was different. You could see it from the very first time she stood next to Freen. Bright eyes, playful laugh, a kind of warmth that doesn't need to try too hard. She was the sunshine to Freen's quiet sea, the spark that made her waves shimmer. When they first met on set, it was supposed to be professional. Freen was the senior, experienced, focused, and precise. Becky was new, eager, a little nervous, but full of curiosity. First, Freen was the mentor. She guided Becky through scripts, helped her hit emotional beats, made sure she felt safe in front of the camera. But slowly, without warning, their roles began to blur. Because while Freen was teaching Becky how to act with confidence, Becky was teaching Freen how to feel again, how to laugh without calculation, how to breathe without control, how to let her heart lead before her mind could interrupt. It didn't happen overnight. It was in the tiny, quiet things. A shared look after a take. A hand that lingered longer than necessary. A laugh that broke Freen's composure just for a moment. And that's how it began. The unraveling of walls Freen didn't even know she'd built. The moment the world noticed. It happened during an event. Lights flashing, fans screaming, the usual chaos of fame. Freen was on stage beside Becky, listening as Becky spoke passionately, hands flying, laughter bubbling out of her. Then Becky turned to her, eyes bright, and said something so ordinary. But the way she said it, something inside Freen just melted. The cameras caught it, that split second when Freen's entire expression changed. Her guarded smile softened, her shoulders relaxed. And she looked at Becky like the rest of the world had disappeared. That single frame traveled across the internet. Millions watched, paused, replayed, zoomed in. Everyone said the same thing. That's not acting. That's love in its purest form. And they were right. Because Freen wasn't performing. She was feeling. And for the first time, she wasn't afraid to show it. The strong one who found her safe place. Freen has always carried herself like someone with purpose. But around Becky, that purpose shifts. It's no longer about being perfect. It's about being present. There's a quiet tenderness in how she listens to Becky talk. How she leans closer even when she doesn't need to. How her laugh lingers a second longer whenever Becky's near. In one interview, when Freen was asked who comforts her when things get heavy, she smiled and said softly, "Becky has this way of making me forget the noise." It wasn't a grand statement. But for someone like Freen, who rarely lets her emotions show, that sentence carried the weight of a confession. Because to forget the noise means more than just peace. Means trust. Means safety. Means home. Moments that tell the truth. Fans began noticing patterns. The way Freen's eyes softened when Becky spoke. How she always turned toward her voice. How her protective side melted into something gentler, quieter. There was one unforgettable moment. During a fan meet, Freen got emotional and tried to hold back tears. Before she could say a word, Becky's hand reached for hers. Freen squeezed it once and smiled through the tears. It was simple. It wasn't scripted. But it said everything. No words, no drama. just two souls, one silently saying, "You don't have to be okay right now. I'm here." And that's when fans realized Becky wasn't just her co-star. She was her anchor. When love doesn't need to be loud. In a world obsessed with declarations and grand gestures, what Freen and Becky share is quieter, but somehow infinitely more powerful. It's the kind of connection that doesn't demand attention. It draws it naturally. It's built on trust, laughter, and the kind of unspoken understanding that doesn't need to be explained. When you watch them, you notice the stillness. The way they exist around each other, relaxed, easy, real. The tension melts away, the walls drop. Freen doesn't just look at Becky, she sees her. And Becky doesn't just make Freen laugh, she makes her free. Because that's the irony of love, isn't it? Sometimes the person who makes you lose control is also the one who makes you feel most safe. The fandom that understood. The Freen-Becky fandom isn't just built on admiration. It's built on observation. Fans don't just watch them, they feel them. They've seen every subtle glance, every shared laugh, every soft touch that seemed to carry a hidden story. They've built theories, edits, and captions, not out of fantasy but out of genuine emotion. Because what's between Freen and Becky isn't loud or performative. It's human. It reminds people of the kind of love they hope to find. The one that doesn't ask you to be more or less, but simply says, "You're safe with me." When the walls fell, love entered. Freen once said in an interview, "I don't show everything. Some things I keep for myself." But when she's with Becky, fans see glimpses of the everything she's been hiding. The softness, the laughter, the real Freen behind the public mask. And maybe that's the beauty of it. That one person could make even the strongest woman feel like she could just be. No armor. No roles. No pressure. Just Freen, a woman who, for the first time, found someone she didn't have to protect herself from. Epilogue. The language of love without words. At its core, this isn't just about romance or shipping. It's about connection. About finding the one person who can reach the parts of you no one else can touch. For Freen, that person was Becky. The one she could let her walls down for. The one who made her remember that strength isn't about holding it all together. It's about knowing when it's safe to let go. And maybe, just maybe, that's why fans fell in love with their story. Because it's not about the perfect couple on screen, but the imperfect, beautifully human connection behind it. Because when Freen looked at Becky that day, she wasn't acting. She wasn't performing. She was free.